Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Very nice. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah. Hi.
So, am I audible to you?
Yes, yes, you're audible. Completely audible.
Okay, great. So, I would like to introduce our viewers today to architect Sapna Aggarwal from ANSA Architecture and Interiors. So, architect Sapna is a creative director in the firm, as well as she is the head of design at Drawpad Design Institute. So, and today's topic is better indoor air quality through effective ventilation. So, welcome Sapna to our session today. Anything
Thank
that you
you.
would like to say about the firm and the kind of works that you guys like doing?
So, hi, I am Sapna Aggarwal, and my company is called ANSA Interiors. And we are an architectural and interior design consultancy firm, and we are working pan India right now, internationally on a lot of projects. And it's a 20-year-old firm. I'm sure there are a lot of accolades that we have added in these 20 years. So, I'm a professor, so I'm sure
Great.
this session would be very, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great.
Yeah.
So, a brief about today's topic. Obviously, we've talked a lot about aesthetics, functionality, etc., etc. So, something that we've always wanted to know more about is effective ventilation. Why? Because even if we talk about HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, so heating and air conditioning always gets taken care of. But sometimes in closed spaces, specifically office spaces and small residences, the ventilation aspect is kind of not taken care of as much as we feel it should be.
Mhm.
So we're gonna kind of ask you your share your knowledge on the subject. So let's start with the first question. So let's start with what do you think, what role does air quality play in a habitat or in a building?
So I think I'll say that let's just first and foremost just understand what is indoor air quality. So when we
Yeah.
talk about air quality in buildings or in structures, uh, how does it affect our health, our comfort, our well-being? You know, as humans, we can survive 30 days without eating, 3 days without drinking, but only 3 minutes without breathing. So, of
Correct.
course, the air that we are in constant contact with, it's something that's life to us, be it indoors or be it outdoors. But when it comes to really air quality management and designing process, there is a little which has been taken care of. So, like in harsher climates, I would say that your building has to be impervious to outdoors, because in very, very harsh, humid conditions or very, very cold conditions, if you allow everything outside to come inside, then you'll not be able to survive. But that said, there is a lot that we still need to, improve on. uh, I think a lot of strategies just revolve around incorporating plants, but that's where we end. That's where the whole thought process comes in. Even during COVID period, a lot of people were talking about strategies where you can incorporate plants into the building. That these plants are good for the health, but nobody was really talking about other aspects like ventilation, how it has to be managed, what is the percentage of ventilation required, what are the kind of fenestrations that are required to maintain that effective ventilation. Also, I think there is a lot of design, physical layouts, there are a lot of mechanical systems, equipment, space usage, management. There is a lot which is missing in the industry right now. Lot. I mean, I'm not saying that post COVID people have started becoming aware that there is something called air quality management, and with these advertisements of air purifiers coming in, people have started managing it a little bit. But really, it's not the in thing right now. People have just started understanding it now.
So, okay,
Yeah.
something I'd like to take from what you just said that, we can stay 30 days without eating, 3 days without drinking, but only 3 minutes without breathing. And something that I'd like to add from my readings is that not many people know that the normal human being breathes 10,000 liters of air in a day. So the maximum nutrition, the maximum amount of, I would say, exchange with the exteriors happens through your breathing, and that's why probably today's topic, that is ventilation. So, okay, moving forward, how do you think, what should be those key, I would say, takeaways or points that a average or a normal layman customer should keep in mind while interacting with the architect during the designing stage of the project?
So, first and foremost, I think am I audible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So as far as the layman is concerned, I think there's a lot of education which is missing right now. Even with the media coming up with air quality index every day, when the pollution is really high in New Delhi, they will say that it's not the right time, construction is banned right now. But there is a little education on that. So I think media also needs to play a very essential role in that. While architects and designers obviously are the baseline to ensuring that there is a better indoor quality. So there are a lot of things that as layman you can ask your interior designer or architect. So I would say an architect or an interior designer can help you in material selection. That's the base of it. The layout, that means what kind of a layout are we looking at? Is the cross ventilation taken care of? Is actually the ventilation taken care of? Because that's the first question. Done. Let's start
Yeah.
point by point. So first and foremost, I think all the architects and designers have to plan and construct the building which is friendly to the environment, greener, energy efficient, and also it can adapt to the surroundings. And mostly, I think, what are the carbon footprints that we are leaving? So, so I'll say that material selection is one thing that the architect and interior designer can hugely guide on. For interior surfaces, there are typically materials available which are high in performance, they're durable, they impart you the desired qualities that are required, but they're also good for the health and for the environment. It's so as customers, I'll say you can demand for things like low VOC products. You can demand for products which emit little or no odor, which are easy to clean and maintain, because dust is again a very it's very hazardous to our health, and most of the people do not even know it that dust से जितनी problems हो सकती है शायद microorganism से भी नहीं होती है. Most of the asthma cases are because of dust. Also, something which can keep the moisture low. So products which absorb moisture are not good for the health, not good for the building, because it will add to the mildew grow and fungal growth. Also, I think where we need a lot of education is installation sequencing. हम बस अपना काम खत्म करते हैं बेसिकली. हम कॉन्ट्रैक्टर्स को सबको बोलते हैं काम खत्म करो, हमें ये नहीं पता क्या पहले लगाना है क्या बाद में लगाना है. So a very simple example to this would be कि when you get paint done in your interiors, we side by side get the carpeting done. जैसे ही पेंट होता है हम carpeting करा देते हैं and we tend to shift. Now carpet or any kind of a phenyl or any kind of absorbent material or any kind of panelings that has been done will absorb those all those odors, all those smell, all those volatile substances are absorbed. Once they are absorbed in the carpet and everything, वो slow emission हो रही होती है. So it's like double the health hazard. So instead, if we for an example, if we let the paint dry first before actually installing some things which have to be installed in that sequence, it will really help. So I can go on with this since I have written my own book, so I can go on with this. There is material minimization. We don't need to put in everything everywhere. We can genuinely reduce the material. It's not necessary कि हमें सब कुछ थोपना ही होता है. So if we are a little careful about how we are using and what we are using, we genuinely become better as humans. Then there are ventilation techniques that what one is doing in, so how to handle natural light. Is it really percolating inside, or are we just not using natural light at all? Also, how ventilated it is. What kind of a pollution is in the nearby area? Are there any industries nearby? And sadly, out of the entire industries, construction industry is the major contributor to the pollution.
Yeah.
air, water, and land. So that's a sadness about it. Even if we claim to be the, responsible architects or designers, but we as the industry are a culprit to this pollution. So there is a lot that needs to be educated. I mean, we are far behind in our education, in our systems, in our implementations. We are really far behind right now.
So, okay, probably what I get from your conversation for our viewers is that one thing that they should be engaged with and be very concerned about is the material that they are planning to put into the design process or the house or the office that they are building. And from the materials, probably, you can end up kind of taking care of multiple benefits, such as you said, material minimization. I've written a few things like low.
Yeah, hi. Yeah.
uh, very impactful in terms of coming from an architect is installation sequencing. And we often come across all these things while we are doing our fenestration systems for the very reason that although these are engineered products and are supposed to be installed at the last stage, but then the hurry to close the project, hurry for so many other things just make it us to install it at times when by the end of it when the customer gets the product it's not really really new or the way it should be. So I am with you on at least almost all the point, but this point has really come up the first time from an architect. So I want to kind of exaggerate it for all our viewers that yes, other than all these things that they get in touch with the architects. So building a house or a project should be a pleasure and not hurried exercise to just get over with.
True that. I mean, this is, I think, both the contractor and from the client that if there is a drying time required, then let it dry.
Can you repeat what you said?
I said you are absolutely right when you said that, because if something has a drying time, we need to let it dry before coating. Like even for POP, generally all the contractors would do the POP and they'll start painting on the wet POP. Why would we do that? But we can allow the drying time and then start with the paint. It will increase the life of the paint. Also, it will take away of all the odors, all the emissions that the POP is emitting. So truly, I
I
think
think
sequencing and patience is very important.
Yeah, I think that, it's maybe also to do with the customer who probably, is unaware of how the construction has evolved over a period of time. I mean, we still have people who've, done their bit in their times of building small time or let's say less engineered houses and they're used to, I mean, whenever I meet a customer, 90% of them actually give a picture or we feel as if, they consider themselves as very advanced contractors. कि हमने बड़े घर बनवाए हैं और हमें पता है कैसे होता है so this is the way it should be so they start with a lot of aspiration but that just gets lost in between. Why? Because I would say be upfront about okay they've lost track. Materials have evolved, many things have evolved, and they're not able to kind of cope up. So there, then they start the hush up job wherein they just want to get the project done. Otherwise, they don't see any visibility in terms of when the project would be complete. So it's like first complicating
I
it,
think that's
and
the
then
true sadness. Yeah,
yeah,
that's the true sadness of what we are saying of Indian community, that everybody will have somebody in their house who would have done a house, and there is a lot
correct,
of advice. Even besides hiring a professional, they have advices
yeah.
flowing in from all sides, which are not
So
generally right advices also.
the professionals are some of the times only hired for their name. Otherwise, the Indian customer is driving everything by himself. Even I've seen architecture is being designed by कर दो मतलब विंडो ऐसे किया तो वैसे कर दो so it's like too many cooks spoil the kind of broth kind of a scenario is going on but yes I think the onus still is on the industry on the architects on the media to kind of bring about I would say an educative platform wherein a customer can constantly be kind of reinforced with that okay we are using some advanced materials construction has evolved so there will be stages wherein we will have to wait And I think a lot of focus needs to be given to the project management skills or project management people to come in and handle the projects in a more professional way. I personally feel that, because without that, being a
True
vendor of
that.
fenestration, we cannot do much. Architects can only do as much in terms of aesthetics, but at the end of the day, you guys are not the one who's laying the brick at the end of the day. So I think a lot of project management strength has to be brought into the project, so that it is a happy journey for all. I have not seen a happy journey, maybe more than 50% of our projects. Why? Because
Oh, true
it's so
that.
stressful.
True that. I totally agree. I think there is a lot of lack of education in terms of contractors, in terms of clients, and I'll be very humble in saying even in terms of designers and architects, because somehow I also feel that a lot of education needs to be incorporated in that. Also, there is a lot of advancement that the market has seen, but not everything is educated to the architects and interior designers. So even they lack knowledge somewhere. Well, this is with all due respect to all architects and interior designer, but there has to be a system of educating them all the time, because it's not a
Yeah.
one-time education; it's education every day. Every day there is a new product. Every day there is a new launch. So just to keep in touch with that, to be in live with that every time, it's like education all the time. So that's the reason I say that education on all aspects are important for the client, for the contractors, for the PMCs, for the interior designers, and for the architects.
Yeah, I mean, okay. So let's move on to back to our main topic.
Yes, of
So,
course.
yeah. So how do you think fenestration systems can probably help improving the indoor air quality?
So I think fenestration actually means enveloping the entire building, be it doors, be it windows, be it skylights. So anything that envelops the entire building. But I think there are a lot of benefits to fenestration. First and foremost, there's a lot of increase in the comfort, because it reduces drafts. It can make the house feel warmer or colder depending on what kind of a place where it is located. Also, it helps in improving the air quality, which is our main subject today. So indoor air quality is also improved. It reduces condensation for sure, because it prevents the mold growth. It curtails the humidity. Humidity can be managed with fenestration systems. And I'm sure the kind of products that you offer, there are tight seals available. There is so much to it that even the pest entering to the house can be controlled now. Also, since I think most of the people think that going for a fenestration which is of good quality or maybe a little expensive is more money, but I would say it's actually saving money. It's not spending, because actually a good fenestration will minimize the leakage. It will also improve the performances of your HVACs. Also, it will improve the entire humidity level in the whole building. So actually you're saving on the cost. It's not that you're increasing on the cost. If your fenestration system is good, then you save on a lot of energy cost. And also it controls condensation. There are a lot of benefits to it. I mean, I can go on. As I said, there are just a lot of benefits to it, like making the like making the building dust proof, uh, to making the healthy environment. So just too
So
much.
sorry to interrupt. I had one question. Let's take an example. We consider only one aspect, which is ventilation.
Yeah.
Let's say I am building a house, and my house is maybe northeast, west, south, all four sides facing, assuming that. And obviously, I put windows so that I can have natural ventilation. Now let's go on to the next step. Now I have put windows to increase ventilation in my house. How can I make the ventilation coming through my windows by treating the outdoors in a manner that it is enhanced as against what it would have been normally? I'll give you an example that I was sharing. This is the same topic with one of the architects, wherein they say that normally what happens is that architects sometimes or the customer sometimes end up concretizing the exteriors. So there is no point. Why? Because if it is 45 degrees outside, the concrete is also hot, and you open up the windows for ventilation, the heat is going to come inside. So I think what they were mentioning was something to do with the island effect, or heat island, hot island effect, something like that. So how can we make it more natural, cooler in summers, wherein now I'm going beyond, just having a window for ventilation, but how can we make the transition inside and outside so good. I mean, I'm sure you must have come across when you must have read some old projects, historical projects wherein there were no air conditioning, but they were still very cool inside. So something or the other was happening in them. And I think as an architect, you'll be able to better, give something to our viewers that how can we achieve that kind of thing without, I'm trying to avoid passive heating ventilation inside. So naturally, how can we achieve something?
So there is an example, of very classic example of that, which is in Gomti Pahadi. It's a building by Terry. It's a hostel. To the best of my knowledge, it's a hostel right now, and they do not have air conditioning. But all through the year, their temperature is maintained at 25 degrees. So they have air
Okay.
ducts which go deep into the earth, and
Hmm.
inside the earth the temperature is lesser than the outside world, and it's
Correct.
cooler. So they have their natural ventilation systems. They don't use artificial ventilation systems, they use natural ventilation systems. So all the air that is actually inside the building is filtered, cooled, pulled back into the building at 25 degrees temperature. So it's not that historically it was done, it's just that right now we are very short on land. So actually, according to so if you want a LEED certification, there is a certificate if the view or not. So sustainability के लिए there is a law that you should not cover 5% of the land, more than 5% of the land. But in cities, the land availability is so less that we actually tend to rely more on mechanical methods, and that by
Correct.
default we can't avoid. I mean, if we are looking at cities, we can't look at everything which can be sustainable. We can probably, what's the best we can do is that we can use sustainable materials, we can use materials which are eco-friendly, we can incorporate a few things which will keep the temperature to our control, like using the material. The construction material specifically plays a very important role in the temperature. The kind of paint that you do plays a very important role. बट ये सब चीजें ना क्लाइंट्स को पता ही नहीं होती हैं. सो अगर वो आप पेंट लगा रहे हो जिससे टेम्परेचर अंदर 2 डिग्री कम होता है तो वो महंगा है. बट वो महंगा है तो आपको 2 डिग्री कम भी तो करके दे रहा है. बट
Hmm.
देन
Yeah,
आई
no, but
थिंक
here I would like to add on. We also come across a lot of cases wherein we tell them to use DGUs and thermal brake systems, but somehow I think where we were lacking was that obviously these systems are going to be more expensive. As of
obviously,
now,
I mean,
many people use the DGU from a single glass. I'm talking of residential projects. Why? Because, oh, I mean, if many people are using it, must be good, so I'll also use it. Or for that matter, acha, that I've used it, so I might as well use it. Why? Because I want to do something better. Because residences for many people is less of a dwelling to where they're gonna live, but more of a social statement as well. So they tend to kind of follow it accordingly. But I think where we were lacking, which we realized, was that sometimes when we are trying to sell an expensive product, we might as well have some, I would say, energy calculations. In a way, I mean, people understand the I would say language of numbers these days. Numbers in the sense the money that they will save in the long run. So that's what we kind of realize, that when we are saying DGUs and when we are saying thermal breaks, we should actually give them a comparative for their house, that in case you use a non-cold section with a single glass versus a double glass and a thermal break, what will be the energy consumption of your house vis-a-vis both the cases, and how much units you would save, and multiply it with the rates of the unit and over a period of 5 years. So in case we are able to justify that, probably, I mean, I understand that, same may go for paints as well, that अब वो 2% डिग्री कम कर रहा है तो okay, we have a certification from so and so kind of testing lab or whatever, and this is the calculation of surface area. So that is what I mean, we as a company learned, and we are already working on it, how to kind of get these calculations on board, and probably we share it with the architects as well, so that that can be further communicated. Because India, as a low purchasing power country, people are hesitant of spending more than what it required, and also they don't, when they don't have a trust, even if they have the budgets, they don't want, they feel that, oh, I am getting fooled by someone, so I don't want to get fooled also. So I feel that that aspect would add on to people becoming more confident about shelling out that extra bit. I feel so. I mean, your views on that?
so I would totally agree to a few points here, but I would like to differ on a few. I think India has mixed budget. There is a segment of people who have very very high capacity to spend, and as you
And
correctly said and put forward, the that's educating. So if we are educating the client properly and the numbers are put correctly, I think people don't hesitate spending. And The younger bit, the new Zen, I think this generation is more conscious than anybody else. I mean, as
Correct.
our generation, I would still say that we would say चलता है. हमारे parents ने भी ऐसे किया था. But the new generation, they want a reason to everything. They're very, very reasonable. I mean, I'm sure you have kids around, so you would have known. To explain them, to get things done, they need a reason to it. So if you get through them, you catch the young generation and explain them the numbers and explain them why it is important and explain them sustainability, because sustainability is also taught in schools and colleges now. So then
Correct.
it becomes reasonable to understand and spend that. Also, when you use terms like DGU, for us, it's like a normal term. But for clients, it's just a fancy term. So
Correct.
explaining you why is it important, what is the air gap doing, what is actually the vacuum doing, tying up with an HVAC company who can give you actually a consolidated data on what is the saving per year and effective cost kya aa rahi hai, then it makes sense. Because normally, with all respect, most of the companies and the salesmen try to push products without
Products.
without proper education. So if that education is built in, I think the sales can also go high and actually
Correct.
win-win to everybody then.
Correct. So I'm just coming back to the same thing. Anything specific that you'd like to add when I say that, okay, the spaces are small inside, we have lack of land. What can be done for small apartments or for, frankly, houses as well, wherein you have a window? What treatments can be done outside the fenestration or the window, where you can get, I mean, other than plants, as you said, that's obviously the very natural way of going about it. But what else do you think can be done?
There's a lot that can be done. And foremost, so as a team, when we today plan of any project, we look at the location first. So when you say an apartment or a house, is it in the coastal region or in the mountain region? So very
Hmm.
simple example would be that in a coastal region, the breeze will blow from the onshore direction, but in the mountain region or any hilly region for that matter, it mostly travels downslope. So if we understand how the wind flows, then we would be able to place the windows correctly. That itself will impact a lot on the indoor quality also. So as I said, it's inbuilt into every aspect of building. Selecting the right kind of window, the right kind of door is very important. We need natural ventilation, but we don't need over natural ventilation. We also have to maintain the cooling. Just because we want to get sunlight inside does not mean that we can do glazing all across and not take care of the HVACs or maybe the amount that we'll be spending on it. When it comes to building, it's also important to look at the cross ventilation and also look at its strategic locations. That means need to actually study the wind flow pathways, which in most of the building it's lacking. Most of the buildings, if you enter most of the buildings, you go into the basements, they're dump. They're smelling and there is hardly, so we get fresh air ductings to use them, but that should not be the case. There are so many ways to ventilate the basements. So how an open plan layouts can effectively use cross ventilation, really looking at uh, designing ventilation with sacrificing any kind of economic comfort or any aesthetics. We're only looking at enhancing those. So there is a lot. As I said, there is a lot. We can add mechanical ventilation. We can, whenever the natural ventilation is less, we can add mechanical ventilation. We can take care of how the outdoor air can be incorporated inside. एंड इट विल ऑल्सो डिपेंड कि आपकी बाहर की हवा अच्छी है या अंदर की अच्छी है. तो अगर बाहर की क्वालिटी बहुत लो है तो आपको सील अच्छा चाहिए. अगर अंदर की क्वालिटी अच्छी है या बाहर की क्वालिटी अच्छी है तो हमें वेंटिलेशन अच्छा है. So there are two different aspects to it. So there is just too much to what can
Okay.
be incorporated.
Okay, so I am just picking up two things from your answers. So one you said was that probably companies should tie up with HVAC consultants to calculate the actual load which they can save. I also wanted to ask you, let's say when we say HVAC, then these consultants would be good both ways in terms of also recommending on which side the windows should be, considering north, east, west, south in terms of heat or sun movement as well as the wind drafts. So whether these guys would be equipped to do it, or we will need
Uh,
architects.
it has to be the architect's duty. Architect well educated to know and calculate the wind flow. Experts can plan the actual heating and ventilation in the building, but the building is planned by the architect.
Okay, so where I was coming from was, let's take an example. Now we have all kinds of systems and we want to do something for the community. Now, obviously, I mean, sorry to say, but not all architects are actually keen to even listen to us. Why? Because their concern is just having windows. So I'll be giving you an example that when we started, we got to know that a lot of window manufacturers are, supplying a cheaper product than us. And when we got into the market, we got to know that the products were not structurally, calculated for the wind load design. So probably then we started submitting wind load calculations with our offers. So now the next stage would be that how do you take care of the placement of the windows as well as the placement of the windows with respect to the wind drafts as well as the sun movement. So whom do you think would be the right consultant for us, wherein we can align with them? Example, we have a structural consultant on board, and wherever we do a project, other than the standard projects, we engage them for doing calculations of the windows that we have, and then we submit it to the architect. Okay, these windows will not pass, so you'll have to change, add a mullion, increase the glass spec, etc. So if you want to do the same thing with the design of the fenestration, how can we go about? Obviously, if the architect, the who's handling the project, is forthcoming in taking suggestions, then obviously we'll be kind of teaming up with him to do whatsoever I'm trying to say. But let's say if you want to build a general database or generic database or a standardized database, or engage someone, I mean a consultant, to do this for any and every architect, we just tell them, give us your plans, give us north, east, west, south, give us how you've planned to put the windows in the elevation, and we will be able to guide you in course correcting if something is not passing a standard. So whom do you think would be the right consultant there?
I think HVAC, because HVAC will be HVAC and your products are completely tied up. That means if we need more heating, and you are taking care that heating station is not. But what you're talking about right now can be positively added on in big projects like hotels. Like when we do hotels, everything is planned, pre-planned, and everything is incorporated. So when the to HVAC, the electricity, the plumbing solutions, everything are planned. Everything is written, documented, and then worked upon. But when it comes to residences, then the aesthetics take more importance than anything. So even if the window is not serving a process, it's not serving a purpose, it is still there. Even if I would say even if it's a hindrance to HVAC. So even if it's in the direction जो sunlight के लिए नहीं ठीक होती है, यहाँ से sunlight नहीं चाहिए, but it is adding to the aesthetic beauty of the house, it will still be there. Because
Yes, you're right.
as you correctly said some while back, it's more like a social segment, more social than actually welfare. वो नहीं
Yeah.
मानते, उनको
So
लगता है
we were also, yeah, I mean, you're right in that. We were also thinking to probably, this kind of an exercise. Obviously, we cannot go to another architect for the architect whom we want to kind of, give all these calculations and suggestions. So we were also thinking that maybe we tie up with our local architecture college. I mean, in Chandigarh, we have Chandigarh College of Architecture. So probably, the youngsters would be very happy to, work on various projects of different architects, wherein, we align them so that we can take suggestions from them, and those suggestions can be passed on to those architects who probably, frankly, don't have time. They don't want to even get engaged into, there are no HVAC consultants in probably more than 80% of the residential projects. So I think that would also be a good idea. I mean, what do you think about it?
yes, theoretically, practically,
Okay.
because practically
Practically.
a lot of mistakes. So we, as a rule, हम भी intern से कुछ नहीं कराते, because we, even if I'm giving internship to somebody, then whatever he's doing is learning process. We don't use drawings at all, because any mistake in that drawing is our problem. So even when they're doing architecture and they're doing a study like this, they do a case study, I'm so sure they'll be very enthusiastic to do it. But if there are mistakes in it, then it becomes the architect's responsibility and nobody else.
Yeah. So
Theoretically,
probably we can look at the teachers as a project and they can use the interns the way they want it.
so practically it has to be if you want exact data, then it has to be the architect, HVACs, tied up together to do that.
Okay. So my last question for the day, I mean, obviously we've covered a lot of answers in whatsoever questions I had in the one or two questions that we interacted on. So I just picked up from your conversation that yes, when you kind of walk into some basements and even some office spaces, I mean, the place is 100% air conditioned. But if it is occupied by, let's say, 30 people, 35 people, depending upon, and it's well designed in terms of the space usage. But when you walk in, you do feel sometimes a stale smell coming out of the place. Now, that is probably to do with so many people sitting together, and it's definitely due to lack of ventilation, or for that matter, the air conditioning not sucking out the stale air. So what do you think can be the main reason and how it can be resolved? Because even in some houses that I go, I mean, yes, that's a different thing that many people in small apartments have bad habits to not even open up their windows to ventilate the apartment. And you can feel that smell. So all I'm saying is that other than, okay, opening up the windows timely, but what do you do in an 100% air conditioned space to kind of take care of this?
So, if you have 100% efficient space, the first would be to invest in an air purifier. Because in case you are house, then at least the air that you're breathing. Don't keep breathing everything which is filled up with pollutants, because the same air is circulating, it's increasing the carbon dioxide every time that it's being circulated. So instead of if now I'm taking a scenario where you said that the windows are not opened often, we're looking at artificial ventilation, then we first and foremost we need to invest in good air purifier system. We can look. It's very very important to keep the house clean because indoor hygiene. Yeah, it may be dust, it could be molds, it could be just the weather. Everything will affect the smell and air quality. So it's very important to keep it clean. This is very very small things. Regular keeping the carpets clean, cleaning your sofas. Things people think are not important, but this is what is affecting that air quality, because it's also absorbing, and once it's absorbing, it's slowly emitting those odors also. It is very essential to keep the house smoke free. So like in Indian houses, we generally burn incense sticks and diya jalate hain hum log sab, candles jalate hain. But practically there is no ventilation, then emitting carbon monoxide, you're emitting carbon dioxide, we are eating away oxygen. So it's important to keep it smoke free for any logical reason. Government ने भी smoke बंद कर दी है, but अगर आप घर ही नहीं खोल तो फिर anything that is running, be it your furnaces or be it your those when you have those I'm so sorry, fireplaces, everything. Why is there a fireplace if you're not opening it only? Very well ventilated. So keeping the house smoke free, I would say. Using a cooking vent. I think people don't invest in their cooking vents. It could be good quality chimney or it could be a good quality exhaust, but there are so many harmful contaminants are omitted while cooking because आपकी gas कुछ omit करती है. उसमें कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड भी होती है, कार्बन मोनोऑक्साइड भी होती है, नाइट्रोजन डाइऑक्साइड.
Yeah.
जब हम करते हैं and there is no vent, it will keep floating here. तभी if it's not well ventilated, that's the reason the smell stays. Also, I think
I mean, some closed office spaces because that's where most of the people come together and work.
and then controlling the humidity. I mean, no talk on humidity. Any humid or moist condition will breed mold. This is what we studied in class 6 when doing biology. It will have mold, it will have mildew, and it will trigger respiratory disease like allergies, and but still dehumidifiers are very common. So to reduce the amount of moisture in the air and curb the growth of mold, humidifiers.
So basically, yeah, I'm noting down three things. Okay, four. One is dehumidifier, two is air purifier, and the third is probably oil lamps that we can use, correct? Fourth, you said, okay, add more and more plants because then they can kind of, cycle the stale air, right? So, okay, let's try this. In most of the people who come across to ask me that घर तो बड़ा अच्छा बन गया है, office भी बड़ा अच्छा बन गया है, but these things are experienced later in the usage stage, and they say that okay, Windows भी है, but हम AC के time पे Windows कैसे खोलें? So then I have to, I'm kind of short of words and trying to tell them that how to take care of the smells and etc etc.
The process, I
So
don't
probably
believe
this.
in.
Okay, so great. So it was great to have you with us today, and a lot of
Pleasure.
good insight from me as well. Any last words that you would like to speak about, today's topic? Any last key takeaways?
I think, as I said, communication is the key. I think it's very, very important to raise the concern and awareness through media, through experts like you, and educate, as I said, everybody. So it's very, very important to stay abreast with the latest and the essential for any proper design. So I think my last say would be that there has to be an education system incorporated so that everybody learns.
Great. So thank you very much
Thank
to
you.
be with us today, and we hope to visit you whensoever we are in your town, and we most welcome you to come to Chandigarh and visit us whensoever you are here.
Of course, we will. Of course.
Thank,
Thank you so
thank
much.
Bye bye.
Bye.